Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I apologize, I'm the ultimate tax master, but we have an hour and we have a lot of knowledge sitting up here on the panel today. So I want to make sure to take advantage of the time that we have today. So thank you for joining us today for this month's Story Of, where we invite and highlight the stories of entrepreneurs and small business owners making their mark in Iowa. We want to remind you that as you create your own story, treat yourselves to this time each month to rekindle your entrepreneurial spirit. My name is TJ Daniels, and I am the Iowa Center's Women's Business Center Director. The Iowa Center's Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. You will receive an email after this event from my colleague Sierra Smith, thanking you for attending today's session, information on how to connect to our moderators and speakers, as well as a form to complete. Please do us a big favor and take some time to fill this form out. This information allows us to continue providing free educational programming for small business owners in Iowa. And today's Story Of moderator is China. China opened Salon Spa W in 2005 to bring her experiences, education, and upskill services to Des Moines. Under her leadership, Salon Spa W has been named one of the top 100 salons in the US by Elle magazine. China spends her time developing lead professionals within the salon, creating editorial and session work, attending educational events, leading business development, and maintains a small group of private clients. She uses her creative energy and business expertise to serve as an educator and keynote speaker at conferences and events around the country. And with that, I will hand the mic over to China.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming in on a rainy Friday. When I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, I hope everybody's gonna get out of bed, right? Get those sweaters out. So I get the pleasure today of talking to friends and neighbors. These are all people that I mean, literally have been my neighbor in the East Village, some for decades, and some for some newer members and of our neighborhood. And we've had more and more growth in the East Village, which is so exciting given the pandemic. Things are really going well there, right? Lots of foot traffic back and new businesses. So if you haven't been down to the neighborhood for a while, we'd love to have you. But no further ado, let's just talk about what each one of us does a little bit. Tell me how you got your start and a little bit about your business. We'll start down at the edge.
My name is Brady. Arin and I own Ephemera together. We have been in the East Village and in business for 15 years. We technically started the business before that in 2005. How much am I supposed to say? Right out of college, we went and got our little business license, and then we went to the bank to open an account, and the lady there was getting married, and so she was our very first customer. We did her we didn't have any responsibilities, so we moved to Colorado, and just Arin created a whole line of invitations, and I learned how to build a website and
That no one ever came
to. We did work with some brides, and one of them said to us, girls, you can do this, but you have to do it. And that's when we decided to move back to Iowa. My mom and sister told us about the East Village. We rented a spot in a live work building, and it was tiny. Arin lived above the shop. And we were there for 2 years, used it as kind of a little incubation space, and then we moved it to our current space down the road. How was that?
You nailed that.
Yeah.
Arin, anything you want to add?
No, not yet.
Okay.
The next question.
All right, Luke, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
My name is Luke Dickens. I collect records. Anybody here collect records? Yeah, there's one person, seriously. Yeah, so I collect records, and I had this hobby, and I got mad at a record store, so I bought a collection, and I started a Facebook group to share what I was listening because I was really involved in the music community. And it turned 6 months later after that Facebook group started. I had 20,000 records and 2,000 members. And my wife said, get these records out of my house. Switched to Beaverdale, a little office space next to Anytime Fitness. And that's not quite what she meant, but it turned into something really cool. I quit my job on February 5th of 2019, and Mars in the East Village was going out of business. And he asked if I would purchase his business. And the reason why he was failing, because the neighborhood sucked, and because nobody was coming, and all these reasons, he had all these lists of reasons. And when I bought the business, I realized that it was a little bit poor business management. And if it really was the neighborhood, well, I'm going to get involved and make change rather than complaining about it. So I joined the East Village board, and I've been on the board for 4 years now. And I love the neighborhood a lot. I put a lot of time and energy into helping people rather than having complaints. So when I joined the East Village, there were a lot of little groups because the neighborhood was so mad, like the neighborhood's not doing this, it's not doing that. But yeah, there's volunteers and there aren't people able to do the work. I'm like, well, I guess I'll do it. And so now we have a really tight knit community, and we all communicate, and we just have it's like a family. We don't necessarily like each other. Like Teresa hates me half the time. Kind of. A lot of fun, but we all work together well, and we have one common goal, and that's to bring more people to the village and have a real genuine sense of community. And now my company, we have 4 locations. We have a music artist management company and safety security consultant for festivals. So we're really in the music business. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
All right, Julie, Indie House.
Yep, so Julie Lyle with Indie House, and I opened the store about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, basically about 5 months prior to the pandemic, which isn't ideal. I think you're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
But it'd been like a dream, and I was like, we're gonna get through this, gonna work out. So, but all my education was design, architecture, and business. And so I got out of school, went out to UC Berkeley, a couple more years for design and architecture schooling, and then came back and went into the business world for, gosh, probably a good 15 years. And I was kind of always doing design work behind the scenes because my husband does more kitchen renovation type remodeling. So I was always trying to fit that in. And so one day I was like, I can do this. Like, I've got this plan. And so, like you said, like, it's kind of easy to start a business. Like, you fill out some paperwork, send it in, and all of a sudden you have a business. So, but I had to do that quite a few years prior to actually opening the store, because there's just so much research that goes into like going to markets and knowing your product and making connections. And so for a couple of years, I was still working my other business job while getting all the information that I needed to launch the store. But I knew the whole time I wanted to do the East Village. Just the whole, everyone has there's so many creatives down there, but the the mindset is very similar in community and just very passionate about it. So yeah, we ended up making it through COVID because luckily everyone was sitting home in their house thinking, what are we going to do? So got through that, and then we've been growing year after year. So now we're doing commercial projects and lots of new builds, and down to just helping, someone do their one room. But it's just so gratifying to be able to like help people's vision come to life. So yeah, East Village has been a big part of that. I was on the board with you guys, and just being able to reach out from the get-go to other business owners in the area was so helpful. And all the programs that we have now on our fingertips too. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of resources out there, and I think we're all so willing to help each other grow, because minus Luke here. Came in almost every other day there for a while. Telling me I'm doing it all wrong. Stop selling records. It's just a lifestyle. But yeah, so
Thanks.
feel very blessed.
All right, Liz, let's hear from you.
I'm Liz Lidgett. I sell art. I have a gallery in the East Village, and I started my business 10 years ago. I'm a boomeranger. I moved away for college, lived in Los Angeles getting my master's, and then my husband and I saw the way that the arts community and the way that Des Moines in general was changing, and we decided we wanted to be a part of it. I always say that in Los Angeles, you had to be a multimillionaire to make a difference, but in Des Moines, you have to have a good idea. And that is the thing about Des Moines and about the East Village, which was exactly why I only looked in the East Village. I knew that's where my gallery needed to be. And so Tim Ritma owns several buildings in the East Village. And I called Tim and I said, I really want to be there. And so he said, hop in my car, we'll go drive around. And I found the spot where we are in one of the newest buildings in the East Village. And it was just the right spot for us. So I was an art advisor for about 7 years before I started the gallery. And the gallery opened in May of 2019. So I was right there with you. And the pandemic changed the way the East Village was for a bit, but I was so thankful to be there because of this tight-knit community. Also, the pandemic made us have major changes in the way that my business worked. And now we ship 80% of the artwork that we sell. So we really are a national and international business that chooses to be based in Des Moines because we love it there and we love being in East Village. And it's fun to sit up with this group of people too, because, you know, Arin and Karen did my wedding, some of our invitations. SALON W has been doing my hair for over 10 years. I registered at Kitchen Collage forever. I've purchased gifts for my husband at Marbs. I bought things for clients at Indie House. So it's like these are the people and the businesses that we choose to do business with too, because we want to support local and we try to, you know, really do what we preach. But yes, so we ship, just a little bit about the business. We do ship about 80% of the work that we sell. We have 50 artists from around the world that send their artwork to Des Moines. We represent at least 50% women artists. The national and international average is more about 13.7%. So that is a big difference. We're probably at more like 60%, 70%. So anyway, some of the things that I thought were, let's say, not right, or I felt like I could do better. I think that's why people start businesses, right? You think you can do it better. And some of those things that I knew that I couldn't change about the art world all over the world, but I could do it right in my business. And, you know, representing more people of color, more BIPOC artists, all of those things, putting light on artists and artwork that isn't normally represented. And we get to do that again here in Des Moines because we choose to. And our community is so incredible that they want to support local businesses. And I feel so thankful. It's like the biggest asset that we have is being an Iowa business. So that's my story.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Teresa, Kitchen Collage. How long has Kitchen Collage been in the East Village? Because I think that's an important.
You're an OG.
We started our business in March of '99, and we were in Urbandale on 100th Street for 5 years, and recognized the opportunity in the East Village. At the time, there were 2 other retailers. One had just opened, one was moving her space, so it was 3 women and 1 guy, and the overhead was so much less. And that really was the calling, like that's the basic of business, is keep your overhead low, right? And so we had established some clientele, and all we had to do was drive to the East Village, which is very easy to get to. The infrastructure was there. The buildings weren't, hadn't been redone. Your building was not there yet. It was a hardware store that hadn't been imploded. Luca, that we all love and know, had no roof and no floor. And so it really was scary for some, but I know I think just as entrepreneurs, you just love the idea of a challenge. I mean, that's what you're all about, is with the get out there and try to make it better. So, I mean, I applaud everyone here for just being in business. 'Cause it's not easy. And we've seen a lot of change just in customers and community and but what was wonderful yesterday, I had a customer in and she said, you know, this is what I love about the East Village, is it's special. So you have to have a special place in your city for people to really want to enjoy, come to, and feel like there's opportunity to just enjoy yourself. And maybe they don't buy everything, but they know they can go to each store and just see wonderful things. So you're just happy that people want to come and see your community and be involved in your community. So that's, I mean, that's really kind of basics. And we've been in the same place and we have lots of items for your kitchen, and but we call it a collage because there's lots of things I just love. So we have that.
Great. All right, Arin, since
Yes.
we kind of skipped you earlier. All right, what advice do you have for new and growing small businesses in Iowa?
So we talked about this yesterday. We came into this plan list. We were not people who had a business plan. We were not people who had a really clear idea about what this was going to become. We felt like we didn't have a choice. We knew when we moved from Colorado, we had befriended another lovely shop owner who also taught retail management in Denver, who had owned a retail shop for decades. And one of her employees, Arin, her going away present to us was our open close sign that hangs on the door. When we moved to our live work loft, we had an empty space. We had no inventory. We had a bunch of boxes of our things. And we sat down on the floor for a month in June of 2007. We drank beer and we kept feeling like we have to have a business plan in order to get a loan. In order to move forward, we've got to get this stuff on paper and we've got to have a clear idea. And we did that for a month. We were paying for our space. We had no money to pay for our space. And one night we sat there and said, what if tomorrow morning we just put the open sign on the door? And we did. We woke up the next morning. We put an open sign on the door. If you would have walked in, like truly for the first year, there was nothing in our shop.
There's nothing.
We had a card table in the corner with a computer set up on it. We had done some wedding invitations. We taped them to the wall. And we let people know when they walked in that if they could find, we did have one card. We had one greeting card
We had
line.
three.
Okay.
You did have.
We had
Walked in.
yeah. Little tiny wall with some greeting cards on it. And if you found us and if you walked in, we let you know that anything that you put into our business, we were then going to put into our business too. And that is how the whole thing was built. We never took out a loan. We built such community out of it because people saw the growth. They saw, they'd come in and they would buy a greeting card, or they were the first people to order wedding invitations from us. And then they'd come back a few months later and there was a little bit more inventory. And so I don't know, instinct and gut feelings and following that,
Which is not what they will teach you.
which is not what we did,
It's how we did.
but that's how we did it. I'm almost 42. If I used to in my 20s tell people just do it, if you haven't, just go for it. And I've shifted that a little bit as I have grown up and as I have people to take care of now, and I have responsibilities that I didn't have then, but I think overall, I do believe that there is something to be said about just an internal push to like go for it and see what happens and cross your finger.
Perfect, Arin. Well, we'll end on the cross our
Yeah.
finger, right? So Julie, I know you've used some of the services here at the Iowa Center, so it's kind of a twofold. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you've done here, and then just from the group broadly, is there any coursework or anything that you would recommend entrepreneurs get their head straight on or do a little work on before they open their business or in the beginning?
Well, I am a numbers person,
Yeah.
so, and I had lots of time to plan, and crazily enough, looking back, like I was within like $5,000 of like my budget then once we finally opened. But,
Good job.
and I did work with, Ivor Center, but I don't think I ended up taking the loan, but I just.
She made me do a whole bunch of work. She's like, TJ, you know what?
Oh,
Need a little-
And I feel like at least over prepared in that regard. That's never a bad thing, when you're putting that much time and energy into something, to make sure it's gonna happen and see it through. And so, and when I opened, I was a little slim on inventory as well. But like I had such a clear vision and other people didn't understand it. So that's like one thing, like when you're asking, you have to ask like the right people, or like when you're trying to explain your vision, because the people that don't understand it can throw you off track, just staying focused and connecting with the right folks. And I did go to business school and my 15 years in business and account management and sales, I probably wouldn't have been able to pull this off had I not had that. So I do think the business side of things is very important. As far as like classwork, I almost think just getting a good mentor, someone that you can connect with, they will teach you more than you can ever learn in a classroom. So I did a lot of that, and I recommend that. And then, yeah, just staying true to your vision, staying true to your passion, and it does take a lot of time, and you might run into hiccups, and some of those they're not failures. You're just learning. You might have to switch gears, go a different direction, but yeah, there's so much support out there.
Anyone else want to tackle that one? Anything you wish you would have learned or class you would have took early on? Okay, would have read.
What's everyone looking at me?
Anyone's got it.
I would say, for example, when I was first starting, I knew I had art history degrees, people. Like, I did not know how to run a business. I had a lot of probably silly self-confidence though, and maybe a big ego, and sometimes that's what it takes to start a business. But I screwed up my QuickBooks so bad. And Tej Devon, who is now like a CFO or something, a principal, I was on a board with him. And that's the thing about Des Moines again, too. It's like you can ask people that are so overqualified. And Tej sat down with me at Smoky Row for hours trying to figure out what I had done with QuickBooks with me. And like, we're so overqualified, but you're like saving me here. So I wish I had known even a simple QuickBooks class or something like that. Simple financial business class would have been pretty amazing. Like even if I had gone to DMAC or Grandview or anything along those lines. Thank you. Yeah, Collage Center. That would have been so helpful, and I wouldn't have had to go through the tears and mistakes. And now no one is allowed to touch my QuickBooks but me because of that. The trauma.
Just by a show of hands, how many people use QuickBooks as their primary source for their?
We did, yeah, until very recently.
Yeah, what did you guys switch to? I just think that's an interesting conversation for entrepreneurs.
I mean, we use Where for the bulk of our stuff, and then I put everything into, so I still use it, but for my reports and all that.
Yeah.
Pulling stuff into
Yeah.
that. I just wore glasses today, so I would look kind of busy. I was like, oh, yeah.
All right, guys, let's switch some gears a little bit here and let's talk holiday. All right, so Luke, I'm gonna go to you. Luke is our current president of the Historic East Village. Tell us a little bit about what's coming down the chute for Promenade.
Yeah, so it starts on 11/18 till 12/16. I do have to, let me start over because the pandemic really changed the promenade, and a lot of you will understand. It used to be one Friday a year for like Teresa will give me the number with 21 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a really long time. It was one Friday a year. I know you all probably been to that. You don't listen to records, but you drink cream beer.
That's true.
So this event was like one thing, and then the pandemic happened, and I remember we were sitting there one day, we were having a Zoom meeting and for our board, and it was before I became president. There was somebody else that was at the helm at the time, and they put me in charge of this event. They're like, create this event that will help bring people to the village. So Teresa and China and myself, and I know Julie was involved, and so many people. And we started this thing called the Roll and Stroll. And basically you could roll in front of a business. And it was at the time, the mayor had the proclamation where you couldn't do anything within like 10 feet or whatever, but businesses were trying to open up, but you couldn't be in public space. So we actually worked with the mayor's office to have him change his proclamation. So then he adjusted it so you could have the Roll and Stroll in the East Village. To really save a long story, make it a little shorter. I made a lot of phone calls and I had to play bad politics a little bit. Thanks to Matt McCoy for his help. No, but we really worked hard to show them we were trying to do something safe, but help save our neighborhood because we knew businesses weren't going to make it. And so you could roll in front of a business and whatever your comfort level was, mask required, or you could go in and purchase from a business. I know Teresa had like a pre-package and some other people had these different things they'd do and their customers would order it and you can pick it up. So then we worked with Colleen Murphy, who just happens to be right there, who saved our ass when it came to the promenade. And I mean that because she really helped us shape. So that first promenade in 2020 was crazy weird. It was Wednesday night and Sunday night because we were trying to get away from Friday. We didn't want people to do Friday. And businesses were not happy. They're like, look, we want to do the Friday. I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. I mean, you buy, but I don't want you to put our name on that. So we wanted to do something that was safe for everybody, but yeah, our businesses could still have traffic. And it wasn't a great turnout. And I think a lot had to do with uncertainty, and you all know I don't need to go there. But then in 2021, Colleen and I sat down and we really tried to drum up an idea. And what I wanted to do was so many businesses would share like their ideas, but they weren't getting involved. And so my number one thing was like, if you have this great idea, come and get involved and share with us what your thoughts are. And they did, and we took those ideas. Like one of them is She, perfect example. She Home and Gift, and those two, Sheila and Gina, are amazing humans, and they're very outspoken, and I love that. So am I. And they're like, well, we wish we were more like Jingle and Junction. Like, yeah, they've been around 20 years and been doing this a long time. It's hard just to do that in 1 year, you know. And but I took that idea, and Colleen and I put together this plan to do 5 Fridays in 2021. That was piggybacking off Jingle and Junction and also Ankeny. And so that way we could have this 5 Friday thing. So it wasn't one Friday and it wasn't like a confusing 10 days. It was just a simple 5 Fridays. And if we do that, we're going to do it for 5 years. And we have to commit to it because our customers need regularity. They need that consistency. And what we found last year was that people would start like 1 week at one end, and then the next week they'd be at the other end of the neighborhood. We had some businesses that were like, well, we just don't see this being a good idea, and they wouldn't open. Well, one of them joined our committee this year who didn't open last year and has been a very vocal part of our committee and has helped us shape the event this year. So what it did was it showed them and it built value in the plan because it wasn't this 5 Friday thing that we came up with. It was the fact that everyone believed in us because we let them, and then they followed our lead. And in the partnership, and Colleen and everyone that was working their tail off to make this thing happen, we're putting the programming in place that would bring people to the neighborhood. But it wasn't the people coming to the neighborhood. It was the businesses that were coming together. Those people that came together and were like, oh, yeah, we did it. And it was a we thing. It wasn't me. It wasn't Colleen. It wasn't Teresa. It wasn't one person. We came together as a community. And right now, you don't see a lot of that. And I think for us, that was a really big thing. This year, it'll be November 18th to December 16th. It is 5 Fridays for 5 years.
Give us 3 specific like fun things that are happening on those 5 Fridays.
They're doing a reading, a Christmas reading. So it's fun for families. I believe it's at Raygun this year. So our promenade chair is actually Abigail Paxton from Storyhouse Books. The other thing is we're doing, Santa Claus will be there 3 times this year. And he will be at the tree lighting as well. The tree lighting's huge. You have to go to that. And then I think the other thing is the window contest. That's a really big thing. So the partnership coordinates Promenade, and they do all the programming, and they really put the event together, and they do a great job with that. We don't always see eye to eye, but we get along great at the end. It's a great event. But that's what a team is. It's people with different ideas coming together. But the other thing is the neighborhood. We actually put in some money to give the businesses an opportunity to win $1,000, $750 for second, and $250 for third for a window contest. We felt if we bribed them, we could really make it. But no, and then also the lights. We work with Operation Downtown to fund the lights. The lights are $10,000 every year to have those cool lights, right? And we used to have to do. Teresa will tell you they used to do this neighborhood bash and raise all this money to fund it. Well, now with Operation Downtown, we don't have to do that. We're volunteers. We have jobs, businesses, and stuff. So yeah,
It's a lot of fun stuff happening down for holiday. Anybody want to share anything they're doing special in their stores that you think people might be interested in?
Well,
Yeah.
we, there is wreaths, right?
Yeah.
And so we're not selling wreaths, but we're decorating cookies that are wreaths. So it's coming in and.
It's a
Yeah.
wreath walk, isn't it?
Right,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so our wreath is, you can come in, you don't have to be a kid, you can pretend to be a kid, and you can decorate cookies. So, I mean, we just try to, whatever is happening, to think of things we can do, right, to engage the community and just get them in the door, just to understand who we are. They don't have to buy anything, it's
Right.
okay.
Anybody else want to share on that one?
We're doing one of the nights, or one of the Fridays, I know we're incorporating like a food drive and a warm clothes drive, just to kind of get people to, in order for us to give back to the community. And then I think one other night we're doing, it's like an independent artist that's gonna come in and kind of do a showcase while we're doing the promenade, just for them to start getting a little bit more recognition, so, which we do all the time.
So
But
like a painter.
this one is a jewelry,
Okay,
a
cool.
local jewelry artist,
Great.
so, yeah.
I'm curious to see you guys.
Well,
You're still trying to figure it out? Yeah, it's just, yeah.
One night, our big thing in our shop was a massive Christmas cookie bar. And you would, I mean, it was huge, and my mom would come help, and it was like thousands of little
Oh,
bite-sized
yeah.
treats.
Yes.
So we can't do that every week of promenade, but I think we're gonna do best of the cookie bar, so every week we're gonna do the all-time favorite cookies. We might be nice and supply the recipes for those things as well, so.
Super fun.
Yeah.
I will add though, we do encourage businesses to do the first Friday and to make that like a big extravagant day if they want as well. I did talk to a business that we had that didn't really like the 5 Friday. They'd rather go to the 1 Friday. And when I talked to him, I was like, well, what were your sales like? Were your sales up this holiday? Like, oh, actually they were. I'm like, cool. The idea, but sales up. Oh, yeah, I could look at it that way. Okay. But we do want that 1 Friday still. We still want that to be a part of it.
We celebrate all of them, right?
Yeah, all-
Right. All right, yes.
Will there be a listing of
Yeah.
what each store is doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is we sent out the information, the businesses can sign up, but then also, you can go to eastvillagedmoines.com, there's more info, and it's on Facebook. It isn't on Instagram yet, we'll be getting a lot of messages, but it will be this week.
All
I
right.
think the partnership has a lot of information on it
They
too,
do.
and we'll make sure to share that information in our follow-up email.
They do such a.
There's a website for it, Holly, what was it last year?
holidaypromenade.com.
It is.
All right,
Don't
so
work on it anymore though for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is the East Village website, but it is holidaypromenade.com.
So still on holiday, but talking a little more like small business, how are you guys preparing? Or are you making any changes for the economy with your holiday plans this year? Do you adjust your inventory at all or?
So, I guess my mantra for many years is, and we're basically in food. Food is not a luxury. There are luxury products out there. There are things that are wonderful. We do have expensive things in the store, but we really do try just to think about everyone and why they come in our door. And you can't be everything for everyone. But I mean, all of us just open up our doors like it's our living room. And so anyone can come in. So how are you going to make them feel at ease, no matter if they buy or not buy? And that's really all people want, is just to be connected somehow. And so that's the way to do it. So you have our $10 gifts or $25 gifts, or like the last week of Christmas, I don't know what to buy yet. But it's like more money than I thought.
See you in 6 weeks, Teresa.
So I just think it's part of the community and what your basis of your mission is and how do you include everyone.
Right? Anyone else want to talk about one?
Yeah, we are a luxury. So I think, you know, during the pandemic, it showed us that music was a really big help to get us through. You know, my hero, John Prine, died. That was a really, really tough thing for me. And having music, and you know, when we started, like I told you, we were a Facebook group, so we had to get where people were. With the recession, so we went to our Facebook group. We actually had our best month ever, still to this day. This was our best month we ever had, because we went to where the people were. With the recession and with the economy, kind of whatever it's called, is shifting a bit, I guess. I'm finding it's a little bit different. People are still buying, but the average sales dropped 30% at every store. So it's not just Des Moines, it's that I have a store in Omaha, Cedar Falls, 2 here, and then also my Facebook group. So what we did was we saw this coming, and we got our liquor license so we can sell beer and kind of make it more shows. And the shows are free, but you have to buy the beer, which helps to pay the artist. So we're not really making money on that. We're just shifting it to the artist. So you're necessarily not paying for something you don't have in front of you. You're buying that beer and you're drinking it, so you see the value in that, because we're really looking for value today. So we wanted to find a way to still get people in our stores and in our neighborhood. Because that's a really big piece for me. And so we're trying to shift our business a little bit. And my wife had also suggested that we start selling other items like t-shirts or whatever to kind of get people. So we're working with Raygun to do wholesale stuff. We also partner with Raygun at 2 of our locations. We share a space with them. So we built relationships with all of our neighbors. I buy my coffee maker from you. I need to buy art from you now, but I've bought from everyone else so far. A lot of art in our house, and I get in trouble for that.
At this point, small business is all about being resilient and how to shift. And I think as a female, that's been my life, is there are things that happen in your world. How are you resilient and how do you shift? And so, yes, we can talk about how bad it is, or it's really not that bad. And it does affect everyone, but how do we continue to be a community? How do we continue to be a neighborhood? And I think that's really what we're trying to do, is just put it out there that we're just people trying to do something for y'all and for ourselves. And at the same time, trying to stay cohesive. So it's just about that resiliency, I think, that we all know and we've all experienced.
I call it the hustle.
Well, and like with being small business, and you're talking about inventory, like has, you know, things changed in that regard. Like I'm staying course, but being small, I don't really buy bulk. So like for me, I just assess it, you know, on a regular basis. And I've got so many vendors that like I usually start running low, and then I'm like, oh no, you know, but then I've got my connections and can get stuff in, you know, within a couple of weeks and fill as need, versus you're buying tons and then like, oh, what am I gonna do with it? So small, that is at least a good thing for small business.
Well, to Julie's point, and kind of like what she's done with her, she goes into homes and designs their setup with Paws and Pints too, right? Did something with
That's
that.
one of our commercials.
So like doing those, that side, she took what she's good at with her business and she really used that to start, and then started doing, I'm not gonna talk for you, but you started doing your outside stuff.
Service portion of the business is huge.
Exactly. We do the same thing. So I started as one record store. We now have 4 locations. I know that that's not going to be here forever. So I found ways to exploit my connections and my relationships. So I talked about John Prine. we released John Prine's records on vinyl cup. You can only get it from us exclusively. There's 5 of them. We have 18 releases that you can only get from us. They're vinyl cup exclusive. So we did that. Managing artists. So I'm trying to find ways, the security consulting. We just met with a local festival that we're going to work with, do Hinterland, Filling Appalachia. I work with a major artist, some other folks doing consulting and setting up their advance for security and safety. This is my other life before I got into business. And so using those connections to really help build a downline. So if this business doesn't really, if it starts to fall a little bit, I can still support it and keep it open. So not necessarily someone's going to go start managing artists or doing something like that. I'm not saying that, but it's finding something else that you can use to help keep your business afloat that's related, you know, so another side hustle.
One thing I always say is the way you start doesn't have to be the way you finish. And the way that my business has changed over 10 years is so vast, especially now having a retail space too. But that flexibility and that resiliency has been so key, especially because I think as a small business owner, you oftentimes are curious and people will come and stop by and say, well, can you do this? And my answer is almost always yes. That doesn't mean I've done it before, but I believe it myself. It's the challenge. Yeah, it's the challenge. And then also even through the pandemic and potentially, you know, how the economy may be going, is I feel a huge responsibility to my artists, having 50 artists that I want to make sure that they can continue to create. And so for our business, and then I go back to my why too, which I believe art is for everyone. I don't think you have to be a millionaire to own artwork. So thinking about all of that, that's why this holiday we are expanding our accessible art pop-up that goes live November 18th, even more than we had in the past. So it's not even a scaling back, it's people want even more pieces that are $500 and below. Last year when we did this, we sold 170 pieces in like 3 hours, which for an art gallery is a huge amount of artwork, a huge amount of artwork. And so we're gonna have 300 pieces on the shop this time, because we had people online from every state waiting at 10 a.m. last year. And so that's what we're hoping we're going to do again this year. And we'll sell more and we'll make more money for these artists, and we'll make sure that art continues on no matter what the economy's like.
So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we have so many female entrepreneurs in the East Village. Does anyone want to chime in on that culture and how that's kind of come about? Considering the most of us were here.
Well, I think at one time we had a count, and I haven't counted in a long time, but it was 60 plus, whatever whatever level was happening, and or there were 60 businesses, and the majority were women, or women started or not started. So it was. I just think it's more, it talks about how in the last 20 years it may have been difficult for women to advance. And so as a female, you're just like, well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do my own thing, because if I'm going to struggle or try whatever ceiling I'm trying to break or get through, or maybe I've had children and this is what I need, the hours. I grew up on a farm, so we worked all the time, and my kids needed to understand that women work all the time. So it's just an example of, I think, what women need to do to succeed. And so you just have a lot of powerful women in the village that are like, well, I can't do it this way, so I'm going to do it my way. Right. And then, I mean, you've succeeded. I'm sure your wife has succeeded. But it's just a testament of, I think, what has been, and women forever, I mean, have worked really hard just to advance in retail, in politics, in just their day-to-day lives. And that is the most inspiring thing about the East Village, is the women that are in business.
Great.
I think too, what's so unique about the East Village and, I mean, also in general, I think women just are, they're sharing their story more. And like my best friend here, one page who came in today, she owned, I got to watch for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, watch her start multiple businesses, including Wong's and Witches Smoking, and just seeing that and being able to like watch her do it, and you just kind of learn from it, and then you share you share what you've learned with other people, and like she hooked me up with quite a few business owners that were all women actually in the East Village when she knew I wanted to start. And everyone was just so helpful and willing to share all the little tips, and I think that's also kind of women just, we're talkers, and we lift each other up, and so it's.
We don't have patience. No, and you have patience for a point, but I think that drives our, like, okay, what are we doing? This isn't working. I'm not gonna sit here and watch it not work. I'm gonna do something else.
Well, I've also felt so comfortable. I mean, I've come to you, Teresa. I've come to you, China. When there have been questions, I texted Hannah Krause and Eden this morning about a square versus stripe question. So we have this incredible energy, and I don't know if that's female based or whatever it is, but it's truly a family, and we all feel very comfortable coming to each other, and I feel so thankful for that.
That's so great.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, of course.
I really want to add something to that, because I think it's important. But I will say, being a male business owner in the East Village, highly involved in the East Village, I've never felt singled out either. It's never been, and they don't like title. The women in our neighborhood are so powerful in a way, and they don't title it like, well, we're a woman-owned business, or like use that. I'm a veteran, and you never hear me say, well, I'm Veterans Day, I will, but. It's not like, oh, maybe because of this, like, no, we have a really good quality product, and that's why you come here. We don't have to like manipulate people because we're women. But the other thing that I want to share, that this is a really big piece of my growth as a human, because I used to always say, like, why do we have to, why is this such a big deal? I never really connected until there was a Facebook group called East Businesses of the East Village, or East Village Shopping East Village. Do you remember that Instagram they started?
I
It
didn't
was
get
like
Facebook.
Shopping East Village, and it was all women business owners that started this thing, and I was so mad. And I wasn't included. Remember that, don't you? I was so mad. Included, and why was that? Because you're not a woman, like, oh. And then I wanted to reach out to them and ask them, like, what's the problem here? The Facebook, Instagram, or the Instagram, you can still find it, but it's not active anymore because the mothership, the East Village social media, wasn't doing anything. And so they took it upon themselves, and they just happened to be women. I'm like, oh, okay, so I got mad about nothing. But it's really, it's not about that to me. And I think, being a leader in the neighborhood and being a part of this group is such an honor to me. I mean, we walked around Cindy Axton, and she has so much fun at your guys' place. We can get her out of there. It's just a cool, tight-knit community, and they don't, they're not titled. It's a really cool thing. So I'm proud to be with you all. I was a little nervous, I looked at the lineup, like.
It's small business.
Yeah.
That is
When we first moved to the East Village and we, walked around introducing ourselves, it felt kind of magic and approachable, like, oh, these ladies are doing this thing and we can too. I don't know, it just felt so nice to be a part of it. Happy to have you too. We hadn't really seen it to that extent before, and it felt really nice to be a part of that community.
There's so many like different communities in the East Village that all come together to make it one. I think we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention our wonderful hospitality community down there. We have so many great restaurants, so many great bars, and of course, some of our founding bars that were down there, in our LGBTQ community. So it's so many people coming together, doing cool stuff, lots of opportunities to enjoy yourself. And we hope any of you guys are coming down in the neighborhood for holiday. Should we open it up for some questions? Anybody have questions?
One of the questions that I get a lot from clients, there's always a lot of issues with funding when starting your new business. I understand that you just started and you bootstrapped.
Right. Also, we didn't know how else to do it, so.
Exactly, but for the others that may have had to find funding, like, how did you fund your startup? Or like, you had a zillion records when you
You
started.
don't want to ask me. It wasn't traditional. Are you familiar with Starbucks? Anyone? Yeah, so you know how they have the Starbucks card and you load money on it and then you forget about it? And you go, oh shoot, I got money at Starbucks, go scan your little card thing. So I started that with my company. So what I did was I call it B Cup, and my wife told me it was a crazy idea, but today we just hit our 1,000th member and they load $100 minimum, give them 10%. So essentially they're loading a gift card, and Square keeps track of the card on file. So we call that their B Cup account. When we started, I worked at Starbucks, so I didn't have a job. I didn't have a money to just throw at a business. So I took, we had 100 people load $50, and I took 2,500 of that and bought records. The other 2,500 I invested, and we came up with $12,000 to open my business, which is very low. And I don't have business partners. We don't have loans because of BCUP today. So I have a continual. Good, man. We have $20,000 continual income every month from BCUP, so it really helps us stay alive.
We have bootstrapped pretty much entirely, except we did crowdfunding. When I was starting the website version, again, you don't have to start the way you finish, and it was another iteration of the business, and each step has been an important part. But when I got to that middle step and we really needed a great website, it was going to be like $10,000 or something like that to build the portion of the website that I needed. And so I said, let's crowdfund that. So we ended up crowdfunding in about 24 hours, which was great. And people received a piece of artwork if they gave a donation to the business. And I, at one point, did try and go to a bank. And I had been in business for some time and I thought was doing pretty well. And then the banker said, well, it seems like your husband is a great asset. And I was like, he's not here. He's a great guy. That's not like a part of the business. So anyway, the point is that I was basically like, well, now my hair is on fire and I'm so mad. And so then I basically stormed out and said, screw you. And I crowdsourced and we haven't taken a loan. I've never gone back asking for money because I've been so mad.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've ever attended one of these story ofs, everybody knows that I always ask all of the speakers, what is one piece of information you would like everybody here in the crowd to know? I would start with you, but you're wearing glasses. So I'm gonna start with China. If there's one piece of information that you want everybody here to know about business, starting a business.
Sure. I would just say practicing gratitude. In the East Village and, anywhere in small business ownership, there's constant changes, there's struggles, there's things you didn't plan for. I focus every day more on what's going well than what's not. Grateful every day for my team, and my team originally was, I literally was the only person in the door the first day, and we've grown to about 15 employees, and they've been with me all the way. So gratitude. And some of them are out there.
Thank you, China. How about you?
That is a great answer. I think, so I'm the seasoned member here, and I'm in the path of what do you really want your legacy to be? And so I've really thought a lot about how I have influenced my staff and what I believe is really important. So just the lead by example, and it's not always going to be the best day ever, but to China's point, we're going to live through this day, hopefully, and then the next day we're going to get up and it's new and fresh, and I'm involved in the community, and legacy is so important for us to help people understand. You can do this. You're going to help people along the way. There'll be some things that won't go well, but it's really just at the end of the day that you're a good human and then she works really hard.
We say all the time, taking care of people is good business. And so, you know, we give a 100% paid maternity leave. I'm a team of 4 people. It's really hard to do, but I believe in it. I have given birth twice. They've taken care of me. I've had employees that give birth. I take care of them. You know, we pay on time and speedy for our artists. That's unfortunately pretty rare sometimes in the art world. So it's all of these little things that make people feel seen and cared for, and it leads to staff retention and artists staying with us and clients who come back to us time and time again because they know that we will take care of them no matter what. Taking care of people is good business. Being kind is good business.
I would say, I would want people to know, just to really keep that passion alive, because we all are so very passionate about what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. And there's gonna be days or months where you're like, wait a second, this isn't how I thought it was gonna go, but just remembering and keeping that flame alive and loving what you do. And secondly, if you're gonna do it, like, you have to have a good support system. Because whether, you got 3 kids, 5 kids, there's so many other areas in life, like having a good support system around you when you're starting to like launch a business, it is so key, it's so important.
I think for me, it's been, not being afraid of failure, but also not being afraid of success. And to that, I think you hit it right on the head, because I work with artists too, but more indirectly than you. But when we do these releases for artists, like, we really have to think about our product. So whatever product people are selling, or if it's a restaurant or whatever the product that you're serving to people is, believe in it, but also put it first. And I think too often we say put the customer first. I don't believe in that as much as I do put the product first, because behind that product is a person. Behind that product is a family, is a mouth that needs to eat. So I think really putting the product first, because sometimes you get those customers who are just asses. And I know that, look, yeah, they pay the bills, but sometimes I'm okay with them not spending their money here. It's okay. I'm really okay with it. I have a teacher that says it too. So just setting boundaries is true to who I am, but also not being afraid of failure. So if I am afraid to fail, so I'm not going to be my true self. And if I'm afraid of success, I'm not going to be my true self. I always want to be my true self. And the only way I can do that is if I'm not afraid to fail and I'm not afraid to succeed. So I always stay true to who I am and remember that there's people behind the product.
I would say leave your shop sometimes, leave your business sometimes, walk away from it sometimes. When I lived with my shop for the first 2 years, I would sit there until 3 o'clock in the morning, and my draper was across the street over at Old Smash,
Yeah.
and I'd be sitting at my computer and he'd be working on
Somebody didn't have it sacked.
Mike was supposed to be here today, but he's opening a new store, so I'm gonna have to tell him. Wait, you can see it on social media.
Yeah.
It's wide for the stores.
I always consider my shop my first baby, but then I've had 3 since, and so they all deserve some of my attention. I'm better for it. I don't work until midnight anymore. I lay in bed and scroll on my phone for a couple hours, but it makes me a better human. We've never been open on a Sunday or a Monday. There's 2 of us. It's always been the 2 of us and a handful of helpers over the years, but we just can't be there all the time. We know that about ourselves. You'll get a better version of us Tuesday through Saturday if we're not there Sunday and Monday.
Well, I've come full circle now, because now I understand the benefit of being the first one sometimes, so.
Yeah.
I feel like when people ask me business advice, I feel like the advice that I give them is similar to what I would give them if they were asking me if they should get a puppy. And the answer is, it's harder than you think it's gonna be. But it's worth it. Like, there are days that are really, really hard and you feel like, why did I do this to myself? But if we hadn't done this, I would always think about this shop. I would always think about this idea that we had, and it's worth it. Like, I want to have this store, and being a part of it, like it's my passion. I walk in the morning, we've had this store for 15 years. I open the door and I still feel the magic. Like, it feels, it's my baby. Like, it is my store, and I feel so lucky to be there. And I mean, I'm still so happy to work next to that person. And I don't know, it just feels like magic, because Village feels like magic being a part of that. Like, it is harder than.
Brand manager out there.
Yeah, right, yeah. And like, I like to drive, when I'm coming to work, I drive down East 6th Street, and I always miss that light right on Grand on East 6th, and I look in porch light and I can imagine Kate in there doing her little paint stuff, you know, like, we know everybody, and it just feels so wonderful to be a part of it.
I think that light is a ticket light too. I'm almost positive it should be. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming out today. I have goosebumps. I'm so excited. I hope everybody here has been able to soak in a little bit of the love from East Village. Thank you so much for coming out. So as we head into the weekend, I invite you all to visit us at the Iowa Center's website. We have a lot of incredible programs coming up for the small business owner. Every week on Tuesdays at 11 to noon, online and in person here, we have an accountability group for small business owners to network, set your intentions or goals, and then sit and just get your work done. At the end of the session, we do a check-in to see what everyone has accomplished. On November 15th at noon, we have a small business essential, which is year-end tax planning for small businesses. With the tax season coming up, I'd like to remind everybody, we do have a VITA tax program here at the Iowa Center, where we do taxes free, personal taxes for free for everybody. So please share the word. And with that, I will end with the one piece of advice that I have for everyone all the time, and that is to do what you love and love what you do. So thank you. Everyone have a great weekend, and we have pastries and cookies from Scenic Root Bakery. There's water. I hope that everybody signs in on the boards, leave your name, your business name, and your social media handle or website, and I hope to see you all again.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.